All right, folks, guess what? You know what day it is? It is Hump Day. It is Wednesday, folks. Hey, I'm your host, Matt Morgan. Thank you for joining me for Soapbox Daily for episode 33. Today's episode is kind of inspired by a few factors. One, I have a recent loss from a colleague that I work with, and so it got me thinking about things and got me thinking about the medical industry. Our topic today is, do you feel our medical institutions are overworked? It's an important topic, and our discoveries from what happened in COVID and how the medical structure, medical institutions, hospitals, and everything else, medical care workers, were the unsung heroes which saved millions of lives. It's really important to take notice of this. And this is the question I pose today. Do you feel our medical institutions are overworked? So let's get into this today. First and foremost, as always, hey, how is your integrity today? Are you having a good integrity day? Midweek being the Wednesday, hump day. Hopefully so far your week is going good and you're setting the example to be the change the world needs. Also, please check out getoffmysoapbox.com for more information on this show and of course our long format podcast of Get Off My Soapbox, which airs Wednesday evening. Yes, that would be this evening, which we will, of course, probably be touching a little bit on this subject today from Soapbox Daily. We'll probably carry it over to this evening's show of Get Off My Soapbox because I think it needs a lot more discussion. I think our healthcare workers, our doctors, our nurses need some support. But this is why I pose the question, do you feel our medical institutions are overworked? So let's get into this today. We've depended on the heroism of healthcare workers for 2.5 years, but rising burnout rates and staff shortages demonstrate the obvious. This dependency isn't a sustainable way forward. We can't keep failing healthcare workers or the patients and families they serve. We know the solutions. What we need now is to implement, to put forward, to get some momentum on those solutions. This isn't about political, allegiances or dollars or cents. It is about life and death, folks. Life and death. Forget about money. It's irrelevant when it comes to life. We've depended on the heroism of healthcare workers, and they have done amazing things with such little resources and such little staff during the pandemic, during every situation that comes up. But the thing is, though, even before COVID, this was a concern. The healthcare workers were suffering. These healthcare workers were understaffed. We didn't have enough nurses, didn't have enough doctors, didn't have enough healthcare workers. And it just really shined the light on how bad it was when COVID actually hit. It's crazy. And now more of a burnout because people have left the industry. People have left working in the healthcare industry because it is so demanding and there's not enough numbers to cover it. But also you got to keep in mind, it's not just doctors, not just nurses, not just support workers, not just care workers. There are other departments that you have to keep in mind as well. They are the foundation which actually makes those institutions run. That's another thing that we should not forget because more people are employed in healthcare support, service, and direct care jobs than in all healthcare practitioners and technicians jobs like doctors, nurses, EMTs, lab technicians. In fact, more people work in hospitals as housekeepers and janitors than physicians and surgeons. The size of this low-wage health force exceeds the size of most of the occupational groups of essential workers. Now, everybody thinks about doctors make tons of money. They can. I think the nurses should get more, though. The nurses do a lot of the dirty work that the doctors don't want to do. And what about the actual support that supports them, as I mentioned? From housekeepers and janitors and everybody that keeps the institutions running. They're getting burned out. They're not getting appreciated. It's not necessarily about dollars and cents. And that's one thing that I actually want to focus away from. Here's my solution moving forward, just so I don't make this a whole, 3-hour show. Our medical institutions are overrun. You as a citizen, you as a human can do your part to try to stay healthy. So you have no need to be running to emergency whenever you get a stomach ache. Do what you can to take care of yourself. Eat right, live right, have a healthy life, take your vitamins, stay out of trouble, get regular checkups when you can, stay on top of it. It is not the healthcare institutions' job to straighten up your bad choices in life. So take the pressure off them, do the smart thing on your own. Take care of your own responsibilities as well. They're there for when shit hits the fan. End of the story. As far as the healthcare and as far as nurses and hospitals and doctors and all that healthcare workers, we need more of them. And I'm going to put this out to the governments and the mayors and everybody that runs societies, whether they run countries, whether they run cities. What you really need to do is take note of other countries that are doing it right, that actually care about their healthcare and actually give free education. And Quebec's actually doing this. They're actually giving free schooling for doctors and nurses if they do a promissory to actually work in the hospitals in the province for X number of years in exchange for that free education. Cuba has a whole doctor program which is experimental and research and everything else in the medical beyond the normal scope and focuses on being a key element. Why are they ahead of us? I mean, I'm looking at a lot of other places that are doing it right, and North America, Canada, and the States have got to pick it up, and they have to start putting more money into, more resources into healthcare study, medical science, hiring nurses, healthcare workers, support workers, doctors, doing whatever they can, because I think the discouragement part is all the years of education and then a huge debt. I think that they should be free education for promissory to actually stay and work for X number of years in that particular country. And more money has to go into medical science, not for treatments, but for cures, to alleviate a lot of the demand of a revolving door of constant problems and emergency and constant demand on the healthcare institutions. Personally, my final word on this is yes, the healthcare institution is overworked, absolutely overworked. They need more support. Don't just wait for them to burn out and break down, because that's when things are going wrong. I've personally have had 2 people die within the last 6 months that were so young, and I'm thinking it's because the healthcare institution is so overworked that they're overlooking stuff, and stuff's happening that, because they don't have the resources, can't keep on top of. And I don't blame the healthcare workers. I blame the governments. Put more resources into the medical. Support your healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, everything else. Pay your nurses more. Get more bodies in healthcare, more people, more trained professionals into this. Give support to your staff so you can keep them going. Encourage them to work together. Really put a lot of support into that, because those selfless people are doing what they can for us. They are there to keep us alive. They are there to help us at one of our worst moments, and they are there to make us better. We need to give the healthcare support. We need to give the hospitals, doctors, everybody that works in that field, the more support for them to be able to do what they need to do. So remember that. All right, I'm going to wrap this up because, I'm going a little over time, but I'm a little passionate about this. We will talk about this more in the future, but I want to touch bases on this. Yes, I think the medical institutions, hospitals, and everything else are overworked. We need to give them more support, not as just as citizens, but also government, everything else. Forget about the money. It's about life or death. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. Hey, again, I'm your host, Matt Morgan. Thank you very much for joining me today. Please check out getoffmysoapbox.com. Also on Twitter, Mad Soapbox. Please leave your comments and feedback on there. I would greatly appreciate that. I hope you have an amazing hump day moving forward. Please check out Get Off My Soapbox podcast this evening if you'd like. We usually have it posted up there, I don't know, definitely before midnight, but there'll be more news on that, so check out the FAQs on the website as well. We'll touch that at a later time. All right, have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow. Or, I might actually see you tonight. Either way, I'll see you next episode. Bye for now.